Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of Homebuying 101 with Sebastian Cordoba, Mr. Clear to Close. Marlborough, attention, attention. I'm very excited because today I have your top real estate agent producer here from Marlborough. Her name is Elaine McDonald from RE/MAX Executive. And we're going to be talking about very important topics, how the market is acting right now. What are the current market conditions? What are we seeing maybe in forecasting for the future? But what's out in the market? What are the different listing opportunities and properties that you could potentially get your hands into, right? So without further ado, please like it, comment, share, subscribe it, and let's talk about some real estate. All right, so without further ado, please make some noise for my guest here, Elaine McDonald from RE/MAX Executives. Thank you so much for coming, Elaine.
Thank you for your invitation to be with you today.
No, I appreciate it because you know what? I'm very excited to have you here. I know you and I have the same passion for the community, giving back and educating, right?
Yes.
So without further ado, let's get into it. I know you wanted to get right into the whole market condition and understand what's going on. So what do you want to enlighten us with us today?
So
first?
as you know, I'm all about the numbers and the statistical data that will support what people are feeling, what we're both experiencing in the market. You know, the inventory is greatly reduced, and I'm going to share with you where we were in 2018 and where we are today with some numbers, and it's pretty stark.
So so to recap, when you say inventory, it means how many houses are available on the market?
Correct.
Okay.
And what is under contract and what has sold. So we're going to focus on 2023, and then we're going to go back and compare it to starting in 2018, before COVID, because everyone thinks that the market, the decrease in inventory was caused by COVID. Yes, it was an important factor of the slowdown, but it started in the fall of 2017.
So there was a shortage of inventory, you're saying?
Exactly.
Before.
So every quarter there was substantially less homes on the market and sales. And then when COVID hit, it was the perfect storm. And then as we all know, we all experienced COVID for a couple of years, and you'll see how those peaks and valleys occurred during that COVID period.
That's amazing. So I mean, the beautiful piece is that what you're saying is, you know, that there's almost an economic trend, but you know, it's almost like it was going towards that way, but COVID kind of was a big influence in maybe making it to a worse extent.
Yes. And also low interest rates.
And low interest rates, which...
So you had low interest rates. So you're refinancing from 7% to 8% down to 2 to 3%. And they were saving substantially in their principal, interest, taxes, and insurance per month. So they plan on staying there for a long time. So that also affected the inventory in Marlborough and elsewhere in the city in Boston.
Okay,
area.
so and so I love that you're an expert in this area and not only this area, in surrounding areas, and but I love it because you know you grew up here. This is from where you're from. Tell us a little bit of kind of what's going on here in Marlborough. I mean, I have a lot of active listeners that want to learn.
Exactly. So right now there are a total of. This is just, it's amazing to me every time that I review this data. Say for condos, there's only 3 active condos for sale in the city of Marlborough. Typically in a balanced market, we would see 20 to 30 condo listings for sale. Wow. So we're really at a really low amount for active inventory.
So and then just so we recap, I mean, we're in September 2023. There's about 3 listings where versus 2023 or listings in a year versus a couple years back, right?
Exactly. And right now there's 9 pending condo properties. So those are 9 properties that are under contract, offer accepted, purchase and sale signed. We classify that contingent and then under contract. So I'm grouping that number together.
Okay.
And the rule of thumb to have a balanced market, whatever the pending amount is, you need 2.5 times that amount for active listings.
Wow.
So that tells you a lot about what's going on.
Yeah, there's a shortage.
It's a severe shortage, and I really don't see that. It's going to take us probably another 2 to 3 years to recover from this lack of inventory. This did not happen overnight. This was a long-term process, and historically we go through 6 to 9 year cycles, peaks, and 6 to 9 year cycles, a downward slide.
Okay.
In a downward slide, there's always positives that come out of a downward slide, and that is homes are less costly.
Okay.
There's more positive purchases. You know, it's
as in
not
equity, more equity in the homes.
Yes, but also it gives more people more properties to buy, and they can qualify.
Okay.
The problem that we're experiencing right now is we don't have enough affordable properties.
Yes, and the interest rates aren't helping, like you mentioned. So
exactly.
I mean, like what we're saying is there's the solution is more inventory, which means it's either new construction, more homes that need rehabilitation, or more sellers that want to sell their home and move. But with interest rates only going up, nobody wants to sell. Nobody wants to get out of their comfortable monthly payment. And then to build or do new construction, it's costly, not only with a loan, with a bank, but material-wise. Everything's gone up.
30% more than
inflation
than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
In the sold category, since January of this year, there's been 63 sales of condos.
Since when, I'm sorry?
Since January of this year.
Wow.
That's a very low amount for the city of Marlborough.
Wow. Because
we have a lot of
January.
We have a lot of condos.
Right.
Along Route 20.
Do you see new condo construction? They're not building much anymore, no?
Okay. No. So historically, 5-6 years ago, this 63 amount should be double.
Wow.
Or at least increase 30-40%.
Okay.
Right?
So what does that mean? I mean, for example, you're going out, you don't have many options, you don't have many condos that you can go and look out for, which you gotta either be patient, wait, or really go in and offer pretty hard into these 3 available condos.
Exactly, and so that's what's created the bidding war process. Now we in the 37 years that I've been in business, we experience the escalation clause when a buyer.
What is that? Just so we know.
Basically, an offer is drafted stating that the buyer will pay a certain amount above and beyond the highest offer. Now, you could have 10 to 15 offers on the table, not to exceed a certain amount.
So you're protecting yourself to an amount.
Right. But the risk there is that if you're paying $40,000, $50,000 over the list price, then there might be a potential of an appraisal issue. And so that's when you see a lot of appraisal insurance. There's a lot of mortgage companies and banks that are offering sort of insurance, just like private mortgage insurance. Because it's the only way that the buyers will win in a competitive situation.
Oh man, I mean,
it's incredible what you have to do to win in an offer situation in the last few years.
And I think that speaks volumes, because without you having to say it, I think to kind of summarize is you need to work with a good team, with an experienced team, somebody who understands and has their finger on the pulse of the current market. Things are changing. I mean, you have many years in the market. You see kind of what's going on, and this type of knowledge. So everybody must be taking their notes, and I know all the notepads are full, and this is good. This is good.
But it's all about relationships.
Okay.
So, there's a lot of really professional real estate agents locally, and we've worked together for a long period of time. And when you have a competitive situation like that, it's the listing agent or the buyer agent needs to be comfortable with the parties involved in the situation. And if you have a good track record, that is a real plus.
Yeah, what's beautiful piece is, especially when you're on one part of the transaction, you make an offer and then you actually know the seller side or the listing side, and you have a good reputation. Oh, I actually closed a loan with this person in the past.
Yes.
That can help you win a deal.
Exactly. And if you didn't have a good experience,
that will make you lose a deal.
So what I would like to do is go over the single-family statistical
Please.
data. Right now, there are 18 single-family homes for sale in the city of Marlborough. Again, there should be probably 30 or 40
Okay. Wow.
for it to be balanced.
And then kind of going into the fall season, you're saying, because, or is this kind of the summer? This is all just right now, you're saying?
Right now, as
Okay.
of 9 o'clock this morning.
Wow.
So it's pretty accurate information. I'm sure there's a couple of listings that might have come
Yeah,
on
but
since noontime,
active,
but there's 18 total. The least expensive
I was going to
one.
ask, what are the price points that we're looking
So
at here?
325 is the least expensive, and the highest is 1.199.
Okay.
So
I believe I saw the lowest one. Is that like a rehabilitation? Might need some work to it?
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
yes. So that would enable somebody to do a FHA 203K or a rehab
Yep,
loan.
or a home style home. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. A renovation.
So for the population of the city of Marlborough, we should have substantially more active listings. Right now, we don't.
So that's tough. I mean, so if you want to buy a home in Marlborough, what you're saying is you need to make sure you're competitive, that you're getting into, and you have a
Yes.
good team who's going to be able to get you in the door.
That knows the market.
That knows the market.
It's very, very
Connections.
difficult for an agent that is, say, 30 minutes away, and they're working with a buyer that comes into what I call the Metro West area. You need to be able to make a few phone calls to some agents that do a lot of listings, and they might have a new listing that comes on that might meet the criteria of your client.
Or soon to be listing.
Soon to be, and that's why relationships is so important.
Yeah.
There's a 29 pending single-family homes.
Wow.
It should be the opposite. It should be 29 or 30 active listings and only 7 or 8.
But so these are under agreements when you're saying.
These are under agreement. These are offer accepted, purchase and sale has been signed, 29.
And you're saying there still should be more available homes on top of that, doubling.
So this is how it's so skewered. 29 should be active, not pending.
Right.
And the number that I
You said 18 or 19?
yes. So these are all the
Available ones.
yes. So it's should be the reverse.
Okay, which is
Okay?
causing the bidding, like you said, and just the tough market we're in.
Yes. Yep. And then the sold data. So as of January of 2023, there's been 138 single-family home sales in the city of Marlborough.
Which is low. Sounds
Very
like.
low for
Okay.
the city of Marlborough, for the population. And this is as of January 1 all the way through this morning.
Wow.
Now, when I go through some historical data,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to compare the 138 sales and see what we did in the previous years, and you realize how low a number
Wow.
this is.
Okay.
Okay? And then I pulled up the multifamilies, which is, there's,
You know what? I was
Yeah.
going to ask, but I didn't know
Yes.
if you had this information. I shouldn't have doubted.
I did.
This is why I love Elaine here,
Yes,
because she's
yes.
down to the numbers and the facts.
so there's no multifamilies for sale in the city of Marlborough.
No way.
There is not one.
Wow. And usually there's at least, what, 5? I mean,
You know, again,
More?
for a balanced market, there's 5, 10, 15 multifamilies to choose from. There's none.
wow.
All right.
Nothing.
So under contract, there's 11.
Multis.
So rule of thumb, 11 times 2.5, that's the amount that should be actively on the market.
Gotcha. And there's nothing.
There's nothing. There's nothing. And there's 21 sales since January.
That's it.
That's it.
That's, wow, that's 2, maybe 3 a month.
Yeah, the lowest was 300,000, the highest was 949. The 949 was a large multifamily.
Yeah, it must
Building.
have been renovated or something.
Right. So how does that compare to 2018 up to
Pre-pandemic.
2022?
Okay.
So
Economy's strong.
single-family homes, 269 sales in 2018. 2019, 282. Went down to 252 in 2020. That was the
Wow.
beginning of COVID.
Oh, okay.
And then 2021 jumped to 295.
Spiked. Okay, that's when the rates probably when they dropped.
That's exactly.
Yep.
And then in 2022, 259,
Went back down.
right?
Adjusted a little.
Condos started 2018, 128 condo sales in 2018.
Okay.
Went down 2019 to 109. 128 to 109. Went back up to 112. Not big of a change. That was in 2020. And then in 2021, 141. Then it dropped again in 2022, 102.
Oof. And now this year,
Okay.
you said 60 something. I mean,
That's right. So we're not close to.
And we're more than halfway. We're in the last quarter of the year.
That's right. And then multifamilies. Hope you're learning something.
Oh, I'm writing them down. Absolutely. Everybody here, but you guys, yeah, please. This is good.
So in 2018, 54 multifamily sales. 2019, 45. 2020, 37. That was COVID, beginning of COVID. 2021, 54.
It's crazy how that
And
year was.
2022, 46. So you didn't really see. So we're seeing a trend
Now.
a trend of high demand for multifamilies because it is one of the ways that a buyer can get into the market and stop paying rent. But there's no multifamilies for sale. So what is happening is we're finding a lot of the bordering towns benefiting of our lack of inventory. So a lot have gone out to Worcester, Leominster,
Yep.
Webster, Dudley, Milford.
Oh, yes. Southbridge, and then now you see in Springfield booming.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, like what you're saying, what we're seeing is it's a big wave. So people from Boston that were living there, and now they say, well, now I don't have to drive into work.
That's right.
I can live in Middlesex County and push those Middlesex County
Yes.
residents out to the Worcester County and so forth, right?
And that's
So-
what caused our lack of inventory. So that the influx of buyers coming out from the greater Boston area to the what I call the metro area of 495. So you have low interest rates. Now you can work from home, and so many other things that compiled the situation to an extreme level.
Ay.
And this is going to take us a long time to sort of
my-
get out of that.
The next question, I mean, everybody who's listening, I'm sure, is asking themselves, well, what do you see in the future? What are the trends? Kind of where are we going?
So, in my professional opinion, it's going to take us 2 or 3 years to sort of recover from this lack of inventory.
Okay.
This isn't going to happen overnight.
And I agree. So, for example, let's say next year the rates go down, right? The rates go down. It's not an overnight effect where you say,
No.
oh, now there's a bunch of houses. No, it might take another year to kind of bring
Another-
everything back to normal.
I'm going to
huh?
say 2 or 3 years before
Makes sense.
it becomes a more balanced market. Now, there are exceptions. If
Yeah.
something
You never know.
happens, you
Right.
just never know. But if you look at the historical trends, I started tracking it in 1985.
Okay.
If you start looking at the 20, 30, 35-year trends, we go through those peaks and valleys
valleys, like you
all
said,
the
yep.
time. And I'll use this as an example. In 1989, the market crashed. Market was very different. We didn't have the companies along 495 that we do now.
Okay.
It was basically 3 or 4 digital Wang computer, DG.
Dell, or what was it,
It was
around here in
DG,
Marlborough? DG? Okay.
DG.
Digital.
And when they started to lay off, it really affected us. And
Wow.
it took us from the end of the fall of that year, it took us till 2007 to recover from that downward slide.
Wow.
So that's why I'm saying we have these peaks and valleys. It might not be 7, it might be 7, 8, 9 years, but
Right, it's not an
we
exact
go,
amount,
we
but
go
there's a
through
range,
it.
right? Yeah.
We go through it.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's amazing. I mean, so looking into what we're seeing in the market now, I mean, it's a matter of, taking the opportunity if it makes sense for you to buy now. I mean, because what we're seeing is, talking about the market, like you said, right? In 2008, 2007, 8, 9, when, the market took a hit because of the mortgages and a lot of people losing their homes, the way lending was then than what it is now, it's completely different, right?
Very,
So
very different.
people thankfully aren't losing their homes as quickly and as
No,
easily because
no.
we're asking for a lot.
No,
Right.
there was a period of quite a few years where you could borrow 105% of the value of the home, and that's what created.
With no income verification.
Yes, and so we're not involved in that anymore, and I'm really
thankfully.
happy.
So that's
that
when
we're
I have a
not.
lot of people asking, well, I'm just going to wait until the market crashes and the prices drop. Well,
Yeah.
There's no signs that we're
There's
going
no
that way.
signs.
I mean,
There's
it's
no
tougher to buy a
signs.
home.
Yes.
For a good reason.
Yes, yes.
know?
But it's still, in my opinion, the best investment that you can make in your life.
Yes.
When you're paying $2,500 for rent, you could be paying a mortgage payment, your
Yes.
principal and interest, taxes, and insurance. The problem that I see, and I think this is where we as a community can come together and come up with some additional mortgage programs to help those true first-time buyers. Because if the first-time buyer price point is not active, the middle and the high is going to be affected.
Yeah.
So it's that domino effect.
You're right, and one tough part, because there's a lot of affordable and first-time home products, right? First-time
Yes.
home buyer products, and I love
True
them.
first-time home buyers.
True first-time, yes,
True.
which for the past 3 years you cannot have owned or even been on a
Yes.
deed
Yes.
or any title. But one of the tough restrictions of these programs are the income limits. So I agree with you. I think that maybe if these Freddie Mac, Fannies, and everybody gets together, kind of
Yes.
increases the income limit, it does give more opportunity, especially now that it's
Yes.
more expensive to buy.
Yes.
Because that income limit can restrict you from being able to buy a home with 5% down and not even have PMI because you're in that first-time home buyer product.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
But because of their income limit, because they're maybe 5,000 over, they can't qualify for it.
Right.
So.
I think other things need to be looked at when an underwriter, an investor, is looking at that loan package. There are so many hardworking families in the city that both double income, and I call it the working poor. They're making good money, but it's not enough to qualify.
Yeah.
And if they had a health scare and it affected their credit, I think the health care piece should be taken out of the credit report.
Which they're fighting for right now, and
Yes.
luckily hopefully we get that pushed, through the
To
Senate.
make that
but
happen.
yes, that is
I just think that is really just a good thing to do.
Yeah, I agree.
As a humanity,
It is. It is.
human side.
And that kind of brings us into the next piece. I mean,
Yes.
because before we leave the real estate topic, and kind of talk about yourself and kind of how you got into the business, what's kind of last piece of real estate knowledge, experience, something you kind of want to share with us?
Well, it's not easy to buy your first home. I can use myself as an example. There were probably 4 or 5 years where I worked full time, but I still had a part-time job. So get that part-time job and just take that money and put it toward your first home or your first condo. You have to start somewhere, and pay, even if you paid, say, $350,000 for a small condo today. And you stayed in that condo for, say, 5 years, and even if you sold it for $350,000, you basically have lived there for 5 years rent-free.
Yep.
And also got some tax benefit.
That's right.
So, if somebody says, I just can't do it, I feel uncomfortable, I don't have enough down payment, there's a will, there's a way.
Yes. Yes.
And so the first home that you purchase is the most difficult. Just persevere and try to save as much as you can, and maybe not go out on a Friday or Saturday night and put that toward your housing savings account.
That's beautiful. Make the sacrifice, like
Make
you're
the
saying.
sacrifice.
Make the sacrifice, and you're absolutely correct, because let's say compare that mortgage payment that you've made over the 5 years. When you sell it, like you said, even if the value hasn't gone up in the home, and that's a worst case, because
Worst case.
typically everything's
Worst
going up.
case. Yeah.
You make all those, the majority of the principal payments that you've made over the years, you make that back, plus the down payment, because you're selling it for the value
Correct.
you paid for it. So
Correct.
you get that back, versus you paying 100% of interest when you're renting. When you move out, you're lucky if you get your first deposit back. They
Right.
might charge you if you don't clean it up well, right?
Right.
So there's a big difference.
There's a lot of benefit,
benefit.
to making that sacrifice. The other thing that I always tell folks to think big, And if you buy that small condo, keep it as an investment. And then buy another one.
Yes, you don't have to sell. You can actually rent it out,
Exactly.
have that rent, pay the
Exactly,
condo
as
off.
long as the condo association allows that.
That's
There are
another
limits. There are limits to the certain percent. It's usually 70-30.
Investor versus
yes, 70% owner occupied, 30% investor owned. So, you know, it's a great way to start. I would say, and this is sort of a general statement, that most people that own real estate become wealthier as time goes on.
It's almost like another retirement tool or
Exactly.
vehicle.
Exactly. And then maybe not, you know, purchase that vehicle that's $700 a month. Maybe buy that little tiny Volkswagen and for a few years. And to me, that's a small sacrifice that somebody can make.
Yes. And I think another important piece is, you know, what we're seeing is maybe it's a little more expensive, or maybe you don't qualify for the area that you specifically want to buy in, but make the sacrifice of maybe living up further out.
About 20 minutes and look and get something that you really like. And if you save enough, maybe, you know, come back to your hometown.
And then in the future, you can use departing rental income from that other home to kind of build up and buy the next one. I mean,
that's right.
So that's amazing.
They need to sit down with you and go over the.
I'd love to.
And make that a plan.
Yes.
And not just wake up one day and I want to do this, but I don't have the capital to do it with.
Right, and then understanding the numbers too, because it's funny, I have a lot of clients who come in and, okay, I want to get pre-approved for a $500,000 home. Okay, great, we look at the numbers, okay, actually you qualify, but let's look at the monthly payment. Then they look at the monthly payment, no, I don't want to pay that much.
Yes.
Well, then you're looking at a lesser amount home.
Yes,
you know, so it's
but it's painful the first year.
Yeah.
I always say it's painful for the first year. So if you get a part-time job, it might help you through that difficult time. But then you file your taxes. And instead of getting $1,000 back, you get $5,000 or $6,000 back, and that money can help you through the next year, so it won't be so financially difficult.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So, right?
So, Elaine, I mean, thank you, because, you know, this is what,
You're
you know, we appreciate giving back all this information, this knowledge. And so, you know, tell us a little bit about yourself, Elaine. I know you're very passionate. You've been in the real estate world for a long time, right? But how did you get into it? Tell us about yourself, please.
So I got into the business in 1985.
Okay.
I purchased my first home when I was 23.
Wow.
Do some quick calculations here. And within 2 years, I doubled the value of my home. I was working in corporate America, and I realized that, you know, if you're a hard worker and you're really good with investments and construction, real estate was a very easy transition.
Okay.
I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the support of my husband Douglas.
Oh, yes. Big shout out to Doug.
Yes.
Dougie, you're a great guy.
But it probably took me a good 5 to 7 years to really get enough experience and have enough business. I would say in the early 1994, 95.
Creating a pipeline.
Yes. And again, as I had mentioned previously, when I started in the business, that we communicated via fax.
So it was
there was no
slower.
cell phones.
It was a lot slower process.
Yes. I remember the first couple of years doing 50,000 miles on my vehicle. Now everything is done, you know,
with a click of a button.
Click of the button, electronic signature. I really have embraced the technology. I love it. You know, obviously buyers love it. They can pull up all this information that took a long time years ago. But what I love to do is to give back to the community.
I know, yes.
And so I've been a member of Marlborough Rotary since the early 90s. And we just do a lot of things, sort of I call it behind the scenes, and helping the needy in the community.
Yes.
I I think you experienced the turkey shoot.
Yes,
you know?
yes, the famous Marlborough turkey shoot.
I think
yes.
that is like going into our 40th year or something like that.
40th year, and it only gets bigger and bigger every year.
Yes.
Thankfully, after COVID, everything
Yes.
just got even better. I mean,
Yes.
because it kind of slowed it down.
The new golf tournament,
Yes.
the recycle event, all of these
Recycle event,
monies
yes.
go back to help the needy in our community. One of the missions of the golf tournament is the homeless shelter
Yes,
for
yes.
women. I was shocked that there wasn't more housing options for women in situations, in emergency situations.
Yes.
And it really got me motivated to really help in that arena.
We appreciate that because it was
Yes.
it was a great success for a great cause, and not only that, but I think you've also ran what is it, the recycle?
Oh, this is going into my 13th year in the recycle event.
Okay.
And we align ourselves with a recycle company. They help us set up. And it's really for anyone in Massachusetts. But we have a lot of seniors that we try to help. And we pick up whatever they need.
Large
from
items,
Large
yeah,
items, dehumidifiers, old TVs, monitors,
Wow.
that kind. We have a company called Holloway Trash Removal
Okay.
that volunteers. I think this is his third or fourth year volunteering for the event. So he will go around to the different locations locally, along with 2 or 3 other volunteers from Rotary.
Wow.
And we pick up from seniors
That's amazing.
in the over 55 developments. It's just wonderful.
So my first year in Rotary, I think the first event that I volunteered was your event, that recycle event.
Yes.
And I remember it was such high spirit. Everybody was so happy.
Yes.
And everybody from the community came, and it was like an annual event. They look
Oh, yes,
forward to
they
this.
look forward to it. We started the first couple of years just once a year.
Okay.
And there was such a demand. We have it now in the spring. We try to do it in April.
Okay.
And then we try to do our fall one in September.
Which is coming up. So when is
Yes.
the next one? It's
This coming Saturday.
this Saturday is the 30th of September.
Yes, at Naven Rink. And we have a lot of volunteers, and I just crossing my fingers that it's somewhat of a nice day and doesn't rain too much.
Well, we'll pray to the
Rain
weather
or
gods.
shine, rain or shine.
Yes,
we're gonna
be there.
We're gonna be having the recycle event.
I love you, Elaine. So, to wrap up, I love everything, that you're bringing and you teach this and you educate it because it shows why you're so successful, right? So things that you've mentioned is you're all about the community. You're about, doing good by the borrower, putting them in the right position.
Correct.
And the client understanding. But more importantly is being there, right? Is
Yes.
bringing your expertise, connecting people with the right connections,
Yes.
and getting the deal done, right?
Yes.
So
And making sure that they surround themselves with reputable professionals. I call it my village.
okay, so you're creating a village, the winning village.
Well, it's the people that I have worked with for 15, 20, 25 years, some of them 30 years.
Wow.
And I know that they do the right thing when no one's looking.
Okay.
And that's really the key.
It is, because that's what, at the end of the day, if you're referring, a client or somebody to another professional, it's your name and your name that
Correct.
your reputation you're putting on the line, right?
Right.
So
Right.
Elaine, amazing. Any last piece you want to leave us with? Any last piece of knowledge? You've shared a lot. I know you have.
Yes. Just try to reduce your debt. Live very simply. And try to make the sacrifice of purchasing your first home.
Okay, because it can go a long way. I mean, it will go a
It
long
really
way.
will help all of us. Every business in this community will benefit from that one real estate purchase.
Amazing. And before we let these beautiful people go, what's the best way that we can reach out to you?
Oh.
What's the best way we can get a hold of you?
My number is 978-875-0097, and you can call me anytime.
Awesome. And yes, you can call her anytime. She will pick up. She's
Yes,
that good.
I do. And
So-
I love Texas too. So.
Yes, you can text as well. So Elaine,
Yes.
thank you so much. I
You're very
appreciate
welcome.
it.
You're very
All right.
welcome. You're
And
very welcome.
yes, my people, I'm sure you enjoyed it. This was an amazing, you got a lot of good numbers. You see where the market's at right now. Please take all the advice that Elaine shared with us. And thank you so much for tuning into this week. Please like it, comment, share it, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next week. Thank you.